Good morning, welcome everybody. It is morning here while I'm filming, so obviously that's why I'm saying good morning, but you might be watching this at a different time. I'm Steph. Today I'm going to be taking you through some stretches to improve your squat mobility. I do have a background in Olympic weightlifting, so my squat is probably quite good in comparison to some other people's squats. My flexibility is also quite good as well, so your squat might not look like mine, but for the sport that I do, which is Olympic weightlifting, I really do need that full depth and a lot of mobility to achieve certain positions. So catching a snatch overhead, you do need to have really good mobility in a lot of different areas, which is why I kind of wanted to make this video so that you can improve your mobility. Maybe you're looking to improve your squat for Olympic weightlifting or just for general purposes. I like to have my feet just outside hip width apart, and this is the depth that we are trying to get to eventually. We also want to be able to try and keep our chest up nice and tall, okay? So this is the depth that we sort of need to get to for Olympic weightlifting. And that's what the stretches today are going to focus on, is opening up through a few different areas so we can achieve this depth. So we'll get stuck into the video. As always, please just modify as you need to, do the best that you can, and let's try and get more bendy. We're going to start off today on our hands with our feet back. So we're in like a high plank position, and we're going to start just by lifting those hips high into a downwards dog so that we can increase a bit of our shoulder mobility. And when you're in this position, you want to poke your tailbone to the roof as tall as you can. And then I like to bend one leg at a time, starting to walk out through those feet. Also, if you think about dropping your head and chest down between those arms, you're going to find that your spine mobility starts to improve and your shoulder mobility starts to improve. So again, this is probably a lot more relevant for Olympic weightlifters, people who need to catch in an overhead squat, because this is going to help to open up through your upper back. We'll hold that one there for another 10 seconds. Good. 3, 2, and 1. Now we're going to come into a pigeon. So fold your right leg just in front of you, and then try and have your hands just in front there. So I've got my right leg folded in front. If your foot is pointing towards your hip more, it does make it a little bit easier. But if you pull your foot out to more of like a 90-degree angle, it makes it a little bit more intense. So now we are in our pigeon stretch to try and open up through our hips, glutes, all of those things. When we talk about the hip joint, or when I talk about the hip joint, it's not really just the front of the hip. We want to think about the whole hip capsule. So your hips and legs are able to move in a lot of different ways. We do need to make sure we're stretching the hips from all different angles. Also, when people describe the hips, they often describe them in different settings or different ways. So some people think the side of their leg is their hip, some think the back is their hip, some think the front is their hip. In reality, it's all your hip. We'll go another 10 seconds here, and then we're just going to switch sides. And 3, 2, 1. Let's change it over onto the other side now. So folding that other leg in front. We've got our left leg in front, whichever one you haven't done. I'm feeling pretty stiff and tight today. So for me, this is like feeling really challenging. You might feel like that too sometimes when you stretch, when you do mobility stuff. Every time you breathe out, you want to try and sink a little lower in towards your stretch, a little bit deeper. These stretches will be appropriate to do probably after training rather than before, only because static stretching, it's not really that great at improving your flexibility before training. And if you are going to be training in something like strength sports or weightlifting, which is more power focused, you're going to be just decreasing that elasticity of the muscles, so you're not going to find that you're as powerful. So probably not a good idea to do static stretching beforehand. Just a little side note here, this would be an after session stretch. Okay, so now we're going to come out of that stretch. Okay, now sitting on your bottom. So what I'd like you to do is bring your hands behind you. Your feet are just in front, probably just outside hip width apart. We're going to rock the legs across to one side. So the knees rock over one side and then rock them to the other side here as well. Cool. So I've got my feet wide enough apart so that my knee is coming really close to my other foot, but not overlapping. And my hands behind me are just supporting me that little bit, thinking about internally rotating and externally rotating through the hips as we do this. And then if you're feeling quite mobile and you want to just try and push yourself a little bit more, maybe you can take your hands away and do this without the help of your hands. We've got a few more. We've got 10 more seconds. My mat is bunching up underneath you as I do this. I feel like I'm traveling as I do it. Good. And 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're going to hold it over on one side. So I've got my legs to the right. I'm just going to hold them there. And what I'm going to do is turn my torso one way and then turn my torso the other way. Getting a little twist from side to side. When you go one way, you might find it's a little bit easier than the other. So for me, turning to the left is a bit harder here. And then turning to the right is a little bit easier. So we're getting that spine mobility as well. Remember, if you're doing an overhead squat, you do need a lot of good spine mobility. And also increases that pressure through that internal rotation in that hip. Good. Last 10 seconds and we'll change sides. Change sides with the legs, I mean. 3, 2, and let's do the other side. So drop the knees across whichever side you haven't done. For me, that's the left side. So my knees are now pointing to the left, starting to turn your torso one way and then the other way. And you can kind of use your hands to pull you into a position as well. Pull and push. This side for me is way stiffer. Last few seconds here. 4, 3, 2, and last 1. Okay. So the next one we're going to do is sitting on your feet. You want your toes pushing down onto the floor so the tops of the feet touch the floor and your bum's trying to sit on your heels. Bring your hands behind you and starting to lean backwards. Okay, so what I want you to try and think about here is pushing your knees away from you towards the floor as you start to lean back. So you might get a really good quad stretch here. Some people are going to feel this more in their ankles. I don't really feel it in my ankles a lot because I have quite good ankle mobility, but if you really tighten your ankles, you are probably going to feel it a lot. And then if you're really bendy, you can come down on your elbows and then you're trying to increase that stretch there. Hold this for a little bit longer. So definitely my quads are way tighter today. And just, breathe through it. Some stretches are uncomfortable. You got your last 10 seconds and then we're going to change it. We've got another kind of ankle one. 3, 2, and 1. Coming out of that one. So the next one is we're just going to have our left foot in front and then our right knee down. So I've got my left foot pretty much kind of my toes in line with my knee here. And again, I'm kind of sitting on my right foot a little bit, on my right heel. My left knee is quite bent. You might not be this low, you might be a little bit higher up. Try and rest your hands or your elbows on that left knee and think about rocking your weight forward. So we're trying to get that left knee over the toes, increasing your ankle dorsiflexion. So right here through the ankle. See if you can really keep that heel down as you push your knee forward. If you want to use your hands to help you, that's a really nice idea. And your body weight is essentially pushing you deeper into that stretch there. We'll do this one just for a few more and then we'll do the other side. So hopefully you can see that on this side, whereas the other side you won't be able to see it quite as well. Last 4, 3, 2, and 1. Cool, so let's switch it over to the other side. Bringing that right foot in front. So remember, we want to line the toes up with our knee and start to shift your weight forward. So your knee goes just over your toes there. And keeping your heel down, okay? So you probably can't see my foot here, but that's okay. You saw it on the other side. So hopefully you got the idea. Remember, you can use your hands around your foot to help kind of put your foot in the correct position. So pulling your heel down, pushing your heel down, just even making sure your knee tracks in the right position. You can use your body to move yourself. We've got another 10 seconds. And 3, 2, and 1. Good. So then the next one I really want to do is open up through your hips just a tiny bit more. Bring that foot all the way in front. So I've got my right foot in front, left knee down. We're just going to sink in through our hips and then come back up again. I like this one to be a moving stretch because I feel like every time you move forward, you get a deeper stretch and you find a different position that's better for you. So you might want to move as well, or you might want to hold it still. I'm okay with that too. When I lean forward, I really push my hips forward a lot, but when I'm upright, I tuck my tailbone a little bit so that I'm not like arching my back backwards. Every time you come up, just tuck your tailbone a little. Good, and you'll get that left hip flexor and hip opening up. We've got another 10 seconds before we switch sides. So now we've got the front of the hip opening. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's come to the other side, switching it over. Left foot in front, right knee down, start to sink, and then come upright. Remember, maybe you want to try and just tuck your tailbone underneath your body every time you come upright. Good. Again, you can use your hands. You might even notice I'm using my hands to sort of adjust my pelvis. Every time I come up, I'm sort of rocking and pulling and pushing with my hands. We've got a few more here, and then we've got the most challenging one. I think it's the most challenging last. So we'll see how you go there. I have confidence you're all going to be okay. Let's go for another 5. And 3, 2, and 1. Lovely. So coming now, we're going to come into our squat position. So we need to find the deepest squat you've got. All right, so I'm going to be here. This is how low I can get. See if you can push your elbows out against your knees and then bring your hands in front of you. You might not be this low. Yours might look kind of like this, where your bum's up and your chest is forward. But if you are able to get pretty low, give it a go. Keep your heels down. That's important. And then, because we've already sort of warmed up through the ankle joint to achieve that. And then push your knees out. The pet's falling down. Push your knees out against your knees out, your elbows out against your knees, okay? So then once you're here, what we're gonna try and do is reach one arm up and then we'll go to the other side, okay? So bring it down, reach the other arm up and then bring it down. Again, you can just do this higher, that's so fine. It would look more like this. Sorry if my arms are cut off on the screen. Good, and we're just trying to open up the hips, okay? And if you're really bendy, then you pop one hand down on the ground and then twist up through there. So just see what you can achieve. And when the arm goes up, I also push it back a little bit. Because remember, like we spoke about, for overhead squats, you do need that overhead mobility. If you don't really need that, then you probably don't have to worry as much, but you'll find you get a deeper stretch that way. Last 10 seconds. Good. 3, 2, and 1. Easy, guys. So now you can come out of your stretch there, however you need to get out. Oh, beautiful. So hopefully you find those stretches helpful to improve your squat mobility. Please just comment below. Let me know if there's any other things that you want to see me do a video on to improve your mobility with. Try those stretches maybe every day, see if it helps. I would say that it would, but yeah, let me know. Give me a like if you can. Maybe subscribe to my channel. I would much appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.